Conversations with the Candidates, a series speaking with the 13 candidates running for 9 seats on the North Adams City Council this election season. The series is hosted by iBerkshires.com and Northern Berkshire Community Television. I am Tammy Daniels, and I am the editor of iBerkshires.com and the moderator for this conversation. In the studio with me are incumbent Bryan Sapienza and candidates Marie McCarron and Carrie Cruz. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to give you guys a couple of minutes each to explain to the audience who you are and why you're running. And I'm going to start with Carrie.
Okay. Hi, I'm Carrie Cruz. I'm a longtime resident of North Adams. I've had the pleasure of raising a couple of really great daughters here. My grandson is here. You know, my family has been here forever and ever and ever. North Adams is really important to me. There have been so many great things that have happened. There have been so many things that maybe weren't so great, but we've always gotten through them. It's really important to me that we keep our traditions alive, who we are, where we've come from, but still have a chance to move forward in a productive way that maintains who we are, but still gives us the opportunity to grow into who we can be.
Okay. Marie.
Thank you. My name is Marie McCarron, and I have been a resident of North Adams for 32 years. And I'm a graduate of MCLA. I've gotten all my degrees at MCLA. I have one in sociology, I have 2 degrees in education, and I have 1 in educational leadership. So I'm very devoted to North Adams and MCLA. Love the college. For the past 26 years, I've been an educator here in North Adams and surrounding towns. I'm committed to supporting students and strengthening our schools. I'm very committed to that. While attending college and raising my children, I've held various jobs here in North Adams. So again, I love working here. I love teaching here, which gives me, I've gained a deep understanding for the people of North Adams and their values. And it's what makes North Adams very special. My husband's also a longtime resident of North Adams. He was born here, he was raised here, he's lived here, he's never left here. He is also an educator here in North Adams. He works at McCann's. And I think if anybody loves North Adams more, it's my husband. Our children all attended the North Adams schools here, and it's like I've always said to people, it's not just where I live, it's where my heart is. I love North Adams, and I'm running for council because I believe in the potential of North Adams. I believe in North Adams' potential. I believe in the potential of the people that live here. It's got so much to offer. I write down everything that I believe in. It's vibrant, culture, the beautiful natural surroundings. It's where I lived, it's where I worked, it's where I raised my family, and I want to give back to that. So any way I can do that by being part of the council member, it's what I want to do.
Okay, thank you. And Bryan.
Yes, Bryan Sapienza, running for re-election. This is be my 3rd term as city councilor, and looking to continue for another 2 years. I'm longtime resident of North Adams, parts manager at the KM Toyota in North Adams. So I work for a local business. My father was a local businessman. He owned 2 companies, Treasures and Trash and Mr. Cobbler over the years. The reason I'm running for re-election because I love the city and I want to keep moving forward in getting the city. We're having to reinvent ourselves from an industrial mill town, something that hit us badly in the 80s and 90s, and now we have to reinvent ourselves, and I see a resurgence of interest in the city of North Adams. People are coming here to see the city, which was never something I ever saw in my earlier days here, and it's a really dynamic, a lot of things going on. We have a lot of events now. There's a lot to do, and I just want to help keep the momentum going because I believe in the city. I love the city. This is my long-term residence. I'm not planning to leave anytime soon, and I want to be part of what's going on. And I enjoy doing what I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna ask Marie the first question because I have to ask the question because you're an educator and you love MCLA and you want to be good for this. Why aren't you running for school committee?
I I feel like I can do more
Okay.
on the city council. You know, I know what's happening in the schools. I really do. I see it. I work in Adams now as a special educator. They need it. At the time when I wanted to expand, and I don't know, I just feel like I can do more in the city as a city councilor to help shape our schools as well. I thought about that because I've asked myself, why am I not going for school committee? They have some really good candidates on the school committee too. Not to say that they're on city council. I'm not saying that at all, please, you know. But I just feel that I could probably do so much more on the council to help that, you know, in the finance, you know, when the finance budget comes through, I sit down and I pull that apart with a fine-tooth comb and say, this is where we need help, this is, you know, what I can probably do when this comes through, and ask questions about this and all that. I just feel that as a city councilor, I could just do a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay. And Carrie, what sparked your interest in running for council?
You know, I've been thinking about it for quite some time. I've done a lot of different community service sort of projects. I've done AmeriCorps. I was on the Disabilities Commission for a few years. The St. Vincent de Paul Meal Ministry was sort of like a Meals on Wheels for the weekends. It's really important to me that if you can give back to your community, you should give back to your community. We have a vibrant community. I think that was the word that you used that was like nail on the head. And there is so much more interest going on, and it is such a time of growth, and there's so many opportunities. And I feel very strongly that with my background in service and the skills that I have for advocacy and sort of just knowing how to speak for the people who are wanting me to speak for them. I'm trying to find the right wording for that. You know, to have the opportunity to do that for the city on that kind of level is something that I think is really important.
So let's just say, what do you want to focus on? I'm going to let Bryan go first. Just, you know, what do you think the council should be focusing on the next term?
I think we need to focus on maintaining the budget as level as we can. I know we saw a $4 million increase over this past year. Unfortunately, with circumstances beyond our control, such as insurance and cost of materials and cost of energy, which affects not only the city, but it affects, you know, local residents as well. And I think we need to maintain our cost as close as possible to prevent them having to increase taxes. We're going to have a little bit additional because of the Greylock School. And I think we need to hold the line as much as possible. I think that's one of the things. Also, we need to look at as our infrastructure. Our infrastructure is in okay shape, but there's a lot of areas that need improvement. And especially if you look at future housing development, we're going to need to look at our infrastructure. And that's going to be a big thing. And I'm an infrastructure person. I mean, it's no sense building houses if you can't run the water or flush the toilets and what have you. And we need to make sure that our city's systems are totally capable of doing so. And it's that, and just to keep the city moving forward with, you know, these cultural programs that are coming up and all the local events that are happening, and, you know, make sure that and keep the city safe, of course. Make sure our police and fire departments are well funded and have the equipment they need to do their jobs.
Marie, what do you think the council should focus on the next 2 years?
I have to agree with him. I think it's our infrastructure. Can I just go back to when you asked why the school committee?
Yeah, sure.
I think if I had decided on the school committee, it was more of a singular vision, would have been just the school. And I have a bigger vision, like you were talking about infrastructure, and I'm talking about affordable housing. We need to think about, you know, I wrote down like one of our biggest challenging is facing North Adams is balancing the growth with the real needs of, you know, the people who live here. So we have to think about that. So we have to think about housing. We have to think about infrastructure. We have to think about building our economy. And that's why I think the school committee would have been just a singular focus for me.
Okay.
And this is what we need to focus on in our next. There's so much that the city council needs to focus on because we have to balance that growth with the needs of the people of North Adams.
So how do we get growth, Carrie? Do you have any ideas?
That is a mighty fine question. I think we need to explore ways, and I'm saying explore because I don't have the answer to this one, ways to sort of generate revenue aside from just the tax revenue coming in. There are a lot of fantastic services and programs that exist in the community that are tax exempt. We need them, they're wonderful, but it also sort of pushes that tax burden onto the other companies, the other households. Everybody else sort of needs to pick that up. So I think we need to find to sort of explore ways around how do we generate revenue aside from the tax base. And I do agree very much with Bryan that infrastructure is incredibly important. It's affecting accessibility for a lot of people, you know, sidewalks, buildings, things like that. With different disabilities or different mobility needs. Our infrastructure really needs a lot of looking over and a lot of examining right now to sort of see where can we cut costs, what can we do to keep things running, and how to do that in a way that is going to effectively not break the bank.
And what would you like the council to focus on over the next 2 years?
I think that we really need to focus a lot on accessibility for not only like physical accessibility to, you know, getting into a certain building or, you know, going down the sidewalks, things like that. A lot of the Disabilities Commission people have talked to me about that. But also accessibility in the sense that people are not feeling informed about certain projects, things that are going on. And finding better ways to sort of share that information in a broader sense with the community, I think would be.
That has been a big topic on people coming to city council and saying, I didn't know this was going to happen.
Right.
How come we didn't know about it? So how, and I know there have been discussions with other councilors about the mechanisms for getting information out that doesn't run afoul of open meeting or there's legal things sometimes that come in. So how would you as a singular city councilor get information out to your constituents? I always trip over that word.
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky word. There's a lot of consonants in there. I think that there sort of has to be a structure in place. I feel like right now there are lots of different ways that information is shared. But because they're not always consistent, people don't know where to turn. You know, sometimes it's, oh, well, let's look at the North Adams City website. Awesome, I'll find this information. And it's like, well, wait a minute, for that, it's great. But for maybe this, that's kind of outdated. We'll have to go to, you know, call somebody or, and I think if there was just a streamlined mechanism for information sharing that the people of the city understood and had access to, I think that would make a big difference.
What do you think, Mary? How would you see it? As a teacher, how would you communicate?
I look at a lot of things through a teacher's lens. As you can see, I take a lot of notes. I do a lot of research. Before I want to present a lesson to a class, I have to know it first, and I have to practice it. And we talk about transparency, and I think I've talked to a lot of people that, well, I didn't know this was happening. You know, why didn't I know about this? Or how come they voted on this and it wasn't shared with us? And Carrie's right. You know, you can get on the city website, and we do record the city council meetings. And sometimes some of the language that's used is above what a lot of us understand. Not just, you know, some people, it's a lot of, you know, Mass General laws say this and that, and we have to reconvene or we have to hold another meeting for this, or we're going to pass this, and it gets to a point where people just lose interest because, and then I don't know, and then the city council passed this law. and then and not everybody has access to television because the, what do I want to say is like, when you want, the television's now like $90, $100 a month just to get it. People don't have cable anymore. It's expensive. So to get on to watch, television news or get on, even just to get onto these channels, sometimes they don't have a television. Some people don't have internet because they can't afford the internet channels. For them to get the information, that's something I'd have to figure out, how to get it out there. What we do in schools is we send it out through, we send out messages to our families we make all calls. We have different ways of getting information out. We send out a flyer. Our teachers get on and they send out like
Little newsletters.
little newsletters, or they send them out electronically for those parents who do have access to. But we find out different ways or modes to communicate. And I think this is where we as a city have to get better at communicating, but on a level where everybody can understand what's going on.
Right.
Because sometimes I sit in the city council meetings in the audience and say, oh, wait a minute, what does that mean? And I write it down, then I go home and I look it up and say, oh, okay, this is what they voted on, and try to understand
It
that.
can get
It is.
confusing, especially when somebody makes a motion, they rescind the motion.
Yeah,
they
and
rescind
then
the
wait a
motion,
minute, and
they
then wait a
amend
minute, did it pass? Or
Right.
wait a minute, are they passing it on or doing ad hoc and
it.
they
I
just
will
keep going
admit that
on?
there have been times where I've gone up to the clerk and say, did they pass that?
Yeah, so I think it's a matter of, some people just lose interest because I don't understand what's going on. And then you have to stop and think about, and then, we pass one, motion, or we're gonna wait and we're gonna take this up at another meeting. And then, wait a minute, now we gotta wait another month or something. And
For some,
yeah, so I think we have to work on being a little more aligned, a little more transparent. I mean, our transparency's gotten better, I have to admit, but there's still more work to be done.
So Bryan is currently president of the council. So this discussion has come up. So what is your take on this, how it can be improved?
Well,
Or does it need to be?
present company accepted. I wish the local media was more responsive and more interested in what we do. Now, iBerkshires is a wonderful source of information, and it's not a shameless plug, but that's where most of the information comes from, is your diligence in getting the information and being at our meetings. And most times, you are the only media that's there. We did have a local radio station, and we did have, we have this avenue, but again, paying $90 to $100 a month to get on to be able to watch this program, or having internet access is tough for some people. And I think you need to turn to radio outlets. And sometimes I think that because of the way radio is around here, I think that WAMC is one of the better sources of information about the city council. I've talked to Josh Landis many times. And I think we need to be more responsive to the media. We're open. We all have phone numbers. We all have emails. Contact us. There's nothing really to hide. I mean, we have open meeting laws, committee meetings. Committee meetings are where a lot of information is gathered. And go to the city's website. For instance, public safety. We're meeting on October 8th. I want to see a room full of people to be in there asking questions, because that's where a lot of the council work is done. When you get to the main council meetings, that's the finishing touches.
Right.
Or, okay, well, we didn't think of this, and somebody brings this onto the table. Okay, we have to go back to committee, but a lot of the work that's done in the council is done in committee work. And again, these meetings are all open. And anybody who wants to attend these meetings should be able to attend them.
Unfortunately, the problem, I think part of it too, that some people have complained, I'm just repeating what I've heard, is a lot of the committee meetings are held early, and there aren't enough volunteers with NBCTC to run the cameras.
Right.
So that's, you have to be there, or I have to be there, to write a story about. So yeah, it can be difficult for some people to get to that. but you're all committed to more transparency.
Absolutely.
Okay, I can put you down for that.
And just to add to that, our minutes, once we've submitted our minutes into
Yeah.
they're accessible, you know, if you can't get them on the web, you talk to the city clerk and go in and say, hey, I would like the minutes, or make a formal information request
Yeah.
to the city's information officer, yeah.
So what else are you interested in for, we talked a lot about housing at the last session, we talked about pilot, but are there particular things that you are interested in for running for city council? Is there something that happened at prior council meetings that you supported or you wouldn't have supported?
Yeah, you kind of asked that in one of
my questions, yeah.
And I had to that was the last one I answered. Do you know, I almost was, because, you know when you get the survey questions and they put an asterisk next to it, it's like,
Yeah.
you have to answer this one, but if there's not an asterisk, you don't have to. Yeah. And I'm going to be, because I'm a very honest person, I've been told that, and I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve too, but I had to really think about that question, you know, and I went back at the end and I answered it. And I think the one thing that I was not thrilled with, that I would have voted against, and it got a unanimous vote because there was one person that was absent, and I don't know how they would have voted, and it was a recent vote where, and I know it was because it was legal, and where the appointments that the mayor makes,
How did I know that was the one?
I would not have voted for that. I know that, you know, because the laws haven't changed in so long, and where now it is the mayor can make all the appointments, does not have to run through city council. I'm just putting it in simple terms. It does not have to go through city council, and that it became, so the sitting mayor, because I don't want to just, you know, say she or whoever, the sitting mayor
Sitting
can
mayor.
appoint anyone to any council and does not have to go through city council. So now we've got one governing body deciding who's going to sit on any and I feel like that should go, that particular ordinance, law, whatever you want to call it, should have gone to a public vote. That should have been decided by the public. I would have liked to have a say in that, because as one counselor said, that it didn't feel right. I think Counselor Fitch said it felt a little icky, to quote his words, and it didn't feel right to me either when I went and I read and I thought about it, because again, putting on my educator hat, I kind of study things, I reflect on things, I like to think about, okay, look at both sides of it here. I can understand where you guys, the legality of it. I really understand the legality of it, that you were following the law. This is the way it was, and you were following what was in the books. But I would have liked to have seen it gone to the people to say, if a sitting mayor is going to appoint somebody, you should go through the council. I mean, I was appointed to the youth council. I'm on the youth council, and I think at that time it had to have gone through city council. I think she went through city council to approve it. So I think it's the way it should be, that, okay, you know, present this person, here are their credentials, here is why I'm presenting this person, and then you guys, or the council decides, okay, ask questions, what is this person's qualifications, and then you have 10 people deciding rather than just one. Because how do you not be biased? Oh, I like this person, I'm going to put this person in. Because there's been, as you know, a lot of drama going on lately, and I think that's one of the things that piqued my interest once that question came up.
How about you, Carrie?
I do absolutely agree with you. I feel like that is an instance where I do understand the legality, and, you know, this is what the law says, so this is what we need to do. But I also do, and it was the same when I was on the Disabilities Commission, I was on it for a while, so I had to, like when my term expired, had to do it again, where the
Right.
mayor would say, I present this person, vote, fine, cool, we're moving on.
She followed what she needed to do.
Yeah, it feels like we really need a checks and balance system for everything. Maybe I'm over checks and balances, but I really feel like, there shouldn't there shouldn't be one person making all decisions about pretty much most things in life.
So Bryan, do you think there should be a charter review?
Oh, definitely, and I think that's one of the things that I believe will be coming up in the next term. We've already been, not officially discussing it, but the chat has been, we do need to look at our charter. The charter was last revised in 1965.
Yep.
And
I read that.
agreed, there's two sides to this too. Sometimes, the counselors should be more diligent. Some counselors feel that we should be more diligent in reviewing these appointments. And some counselors feel that we don't have enough information all the time on these people being appointed. We may know them through the community. We may say, oh yeah, that's going to be a great choice for that particular commission or committee or commission. But there's times that we just don't have the information available, and sometimes it's just not available to be researched. If somebody comes off the street and wants to be on the whatever commission, sometimes we don't have all that input, and sometimes we're only hearing from one side. We had a case a couple of years ago where everything was one-sided. We didn't hear the other side, and unfortunately, we made a decision based on hearing only one side of the argument. But definitely a charter revision is in the works. Right now, we're going through a codification process, which goes back and is looking at all our ordinances to make sure they're in line with mass general laws, things like that. But definitely a charter ordinance, and I think that's going to be something that's coming up in the next term.
Can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Do you mind if I?
No, go
I
ahead.
just want to ask them. It's like, do you mind when this comes up in the next term? Depending, this is where you would have city council members of the mayors. There would be like a whole committee revising
Yes.
Well, not revising, but going through the
Right.
whole.
We would set up a charter review committee.
Yeah.
Yes, a charter review committee. There's an entire process. It's not just something we can say, okay, we're going to change the charter today. There's an entire
The
process.
whole wording, and you as the president would select somebody from
It was the select, and I believe there has to be residents
from the
from the
north
city.
end.
Yeah,
Okay.
there has to
So
be
how
resident
would
representatives.
how would you get people from the city on there? Do they have to apply, or do you?
I think they
like
would
an
have to
appointment?
apply, and I think they have to go through a similar process, because I believe, I could be wrong, but I think you actually have to vote for your yeah, I can't think of the word, your charter review.
Charter
Your
review
charter-
commission.
Your charter review
That's it.
commission.
Pittsfield just went through that.
Yes.
Yes, they just
Yeah.
did,
But-
Because I've been
they're still working on, they're
learning more
putting
about
recommendations
And as
out
well,
now. Yeah.
the charter review, once you have new language in the charter, you have to still go through the state to have
Has
it
to be
approved.
legislatively approved. yeah.
Exactly. So
Because you're changing
It's a
some of the
process.
wording
you're
and
changing,
you're updating.
you're
it.
basically changing, it's like a constitution. You're changing the constitution of the city of North Adams. So there is a
Which
process.
needs to happen. Which needs to
Oh,
happen.
definitely,
Because
yeah, I
you can't
mean-
have one
Yeah.
legislative body making
Yeah.
all this.
Yeah.
Right, and
Those
that-
important
I mean,
decisions.
there are several things that are being talked about, what would we do, casual conversation, and outside of, any quorums or anything, what would you like to see as far as charter reviews? And, people have said, we'd like to see this, or we'd like to see that, and so we're taking this all in, so when this does eventually happen, we will have somewhere to start, actually a baseline to start, so.
Good. This makes me happy.
So I'll ask, if you get elected, what committee would you like to be appointed to?
I juggle with that a lot because I have so many things that I'm like, I would think that general governance or public safety would probably be where I would serve best. I mean, of course, whatever the president decides is best is for me is what I'll do. But I think, yeah, those would be probably the top two that I would be concerned with.
Marie, what you?
Public safety, housing, is probably finance. I like the number.
Finance committee, yeah.
And
Bryan,
like
go
what
ahead.
Carrieanne said, anyone that,
Let's
you know,
put
that fits. Yeah.
Bryan, what are you going to ask the president to put you on?
Well, I'd like to keep public safety.
Safety.
Yeah, I'd like to keep public safety. I do have an interest in finance. I've
Yeah.
served on the finance committee in the past. One committee I have not served on is the general government committee. And I would
yeah.
like to spend some time on that. But my true love is public safety. And I've done a lot of work.
Public safety.
Done a lot of work on public safety. We've passed several new ordinances, taxi
Yep.
ordinances, and
Dog.
now we're looking at this nip bottle ordinance
The
coming
nip
through.
bottles.
So that's gonna be something that we're gonna have to work on, and I like digging into stuff like that, and
I was actually glad you guys did not put a vote through on that one right away.
we couldn't have, really, because
No,
there's
this
just so
needs a
much,
lot of-
there's so much information.
It's complicated.
There's a lot, and, you know, you listen to the business people, you listen to the police chief, you listen to other people, and not to get into the semantics of the actual item, because we'll be discussing that next week. But, you know, there's a lot of avenues, and I've been reading social media, and I've been reading responses to your articles
Yeah.
on a lot of that stuff, so there's a lot to think about, and it's.
I've been
it's
reading a lot of
It's not a
responses,
simple
yeah.
answer, and we need to, that's why, you know, we're gonna have these public safety meetings, and there'll probably be a series of public safety meetings before something actually gets sent back to the council.
I think people sometimes get frustrated. I think counselors, there are counselors, we know, they get very frustrated with how long it takes for some of this to happen, but these, like you said, these aren't the things that you want to make a snap decision on. You have to think about it and look at all the different perspectives.
There is,
Yeah.
and Brian's right, there is so much, especially for something as little as these nip bottles are on our ground. My family owned a liquor store for many, many years.
Yeah.
I mean, right here, right in Cheshire here, we own a store. And just the, you know, the thought of having, you know, people drop, we would see them. I'd have to, being young, going out and having to pick them up in front of the store. I understand that. But I have so many ideas on how we can help resolve this issue rather than just banning them, because as some people are saying, they're going to find other avenues that are, you know, maybe much worse than buying a nip and drinking it. So let's sit down, and I like the idea of going to the public safety meetings, and maybe this would be a forum for the public to come in and say, here are some of our ideas that you can
Right.
bring back. I like that. We're going to take our time with this.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm saying this as a citizen, not somebody running for council. As a citizen, I'm glad that time is going to be taken to look at this, because this may be a solution to other things going on too, because there's a lot of underlying problems other than nips on the ground that's causing these people just to drink.
Right.
That we have to look at mental health issues that are going along with this too.
You get into deep waters and it gets sort of outside the council purview. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Carrie, since she hasn't talked to you, how do you
I
see?
try to be quiet.
I know, but you don't. I want you to talk so people know what you think. So I'll ask you, you know, how do you see the council sort of reacting to social problems in the community? And what do you think council can do or encourage or advocate for?
I think that a lot of the times we have resources in the community that we sort of overlook. We do have a lot of amazing things that we could be doing. Like, for instance, I know that we're having a teacher shortage issue.
Yeah.
Partnering with MCLA's teaching program is a stroke of genius. You know, things like that we can sort of tackle that aren't going to kill the tax dollars that are being generated. We have so many things that we should be looking into that aren't going to be huge. You know, it's the baby steps that we could be taking, and I think that, and it's probably also one of the other reasons why people get so frustrated about how slowly things move, is because there are so many baby steps. When we were the Disabilities Commission, you know, some things just as, which would seem simple, is, you know, let's put the paint on these handicap parking spots because nobody knows they're there. Well, then we learned that, you know, well, there's a certain width that this parking space has to be, and it doesn't fit that anymore. So now we've lost 3 parking spaces, and where are we going to make up these 3 parking spaces that we need to have? So it's really about taking a look at the small details first, then looking at what resource do we have in the community that can fulfill these baby steps, and that's when we'll start to see the progress actually happening.
It's true, yeah. We've run into that a number of times. Yeah. I remember a particular sidewalk, a crosswalk that had to be taken out because somebody mentioned it needed to be repainted, and then they found out it was illegal. It was supposed to be there.
Another thing I'd like to add too is we need to be cognizant of, as counselors, we need to be cognizant of the results of our actions. So if we put this law in place or this ordinance in place, what are the possible outcomes? So we need to be cognizant of that. What is going to be the repercussions, or what's going to be the result of putting these ordinances in place? So you want to be cognizant, and that's one thing that I've learned over the last 5 years on city council is you put an action in place. What is going to happen to the community? Is it going to affect certain businesses? Right. Is it going to affect the residents? And you definitely don't want to do something that's going to cause adverse reactions or adverse results to either the businesses or the residents of the community. So we just need to be cognizant what we think of. I mean, my agenda is to help the city, and one of those ways of helping the city is making sure that I don't do anything as city councilor to hurt that moving forward, to upset that or hurt that. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to bring up one thing because I know there's going to be some properties that are going to be coming up. We know Sullivan School.
It was East School when I was there. Yeah.
My kids went to Sullivan School.
So Sullivan School is going to be back before the council for a purchase and sale agreement. And it's one of the many properties that the city owns. And so I'd like to get your take on other properties that the city owns and how would you vote to get rid of them and to sell them to anybody? Or do you think there should be more RFPs put out for these properties? It just seems like we have the Windsor Mill, we have Heritage State Park, we've got, what's the other one? Oh,
The theater.
the theater, right, the theater.
Yes.
Theater, how could I
The biggest
forget
one.
the theater,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, so I'd like to get your take on some of these properties and that have seemed to be lingering. Oh, and Brayton School at some
Yes.
point too will be coming up. So what do we do with all these properties that the city owns?
I feel like in most cases, we should be finding a way to sell them and get them back on the tax rolls. But while we do that, I think we also need to be very aware of, like, in the area of Sullivan School, there's that beautiful Little League field there. We need to make sure that while we're selling them to get the tax revenue and keep them from being dilapidated, we need to also be aware of, like I always say, who we are as a community. I would hate to see some of our beautiful green space be turned into parking lots if we can avoid that. But I also feel like we need to generate revenue for the city. We need to not be holding on to these really expensive buildings that are just going to continue to cost us money.
Okay. Marie?
As soon as you said Brayton, my heart just went.
Yeah, I'm not okay
I mean,
with
I
that,
taught there
no.
for almost 23 years. I mean, that is that's my heart and soul. I would like to have it so it stays with the city, especially like Brayton, where you could make more housing there. I know you already have Brayton Hill, you have the development, a way that the city could get funding, state funding, bring in, like, we work with the regional planning commission or something and say, let's turn this into even more senior housing so our elderly can afford to stay. Because, I mean, we're pricing elderly out of their homes too. I mean, rents are getting high for everybody. Everybody, I mean, no matter where you go, it's just not North Adams. Rents are high. And maybe turn it into elderly housing, senior housing or something, not lose it. I mean, it could
Right.
still, I mean, it could be part of our housing, you know, with, we have the Berkshire Towers, you know, do something like that over there. Find out a way we could work with the state to turn it into more housing. We need more housing. We've got
We do need
homeless
housing.
people.
Yeah.
We have people who are being, you know, I don't want to say, they're just being displaced, and we need to make sure that we can provide places for them to live. Some of these properties, I think we should sell for the tax base. We need to increase our tax base. So I think if we have to look at each individual property and say, how can we profit from this? How can we benefit from this? And maybe work with local contractors, do some saying, you know, we can work together. We gotta just figure, you know, we gotta sit down and we gotta just put our heads together and work this out. I have ideas for people who aren't working in our city to give them internships, and let's work together. There's a lot of things we can do to
Oh, yeah.
these. I mean, I just think all these places that we have to look at each individual place. How is it going to benefit the city? How is it going to benefit the people of the city? And how do we bring? And how can we work with the state? You know, the planning commissions, you know, and how do we get grants and funds? And who's going to sit down and help write these? And to figure out where we can bring money to help us fix these places up, instead of letting them just
Yeah.
sit there and don't get dilapidated.
Housing is a huge issue in the city, not just in the city. Housing is a huge
It's
issue.
Nationwide.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Nationwide.
nationwide.
You know, how do we create affordable housing? I mean, you have a Habitat for Humanity, both chapters, but it's 2 or 3 houses
Right.
a year sometimes because, you know, they're nonprofit and they have to work hard to get what they do. So what do you think the city can do to promote? I mean, I'm sorry, Brian, what was it, 40? Chapter 40? It was for.
Oh,
it was
40R,
to,
yes.
40R, thank you.
40R,
Thank you.
yeah.
The
It was
affordable
in my
housing,
mind.
yeah.
Yeah, to try
Yeah.
to promote that, and we
Yeah.
haven't seen anybody come in to take advantage of that.
Right now, there are limited areas that are under the 40R.
Right.
But you have to have a certain population, though.
No,
don't
they
think so.
adopted
No,
it, yeah,
no,
they adopted
no,
it. But you
because
gotta
there were
figure out
guidelines
where
for
it was
Berkshire
going to be.
County.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
there
learning
were-
more about this
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
There were guidelines, from what I remember, there were guidelines for Berkshire County, the base on what
Right.
your rent is based on. And what R40 is 40% of a housing development in an R40 overlay zone has to be affordable housing.
Right.
From what I understand, there are several areas in the city, I believe, and I could be wrong, but
I think it goes down through Union Street.
it goes
and
down
there's a
through Union
couple-
Street and
couple
parts of
other
East Main
spots.
Street, and I
Yeah.
believe the Notre Dame school, which is currently being renovated,
Yeah.
I believe that may be part of it. I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
that may be part of it.
It was at one point, because when I was reading about that, it
Yeah.
did, but now that somebody privately bought that, I'm wondering, is it,
I
I
think it's
don't
market
think-
rate.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, I'd have to look into that, but I know that we did pass a 40R,
yes.
To try to promote
And
it.
it takes a nice
overlay.
big section
Yes.
down there, yeah. Yeah, now I know which one you're talking about,
and there
yeah.
are areas that we can develop again, and with 40R, that a lot of people don't know of, is that if you do have affordable housing, some of that money that comes in from 40R, I believe the federal and the state government reimburse you for infrastructure
Yes.
improvements
Yes, it
within
does.
that 40R zone.
Yes.
So if you build more housing, you have 100 more units in that area, the current system may not be able to support it, but they would actually help the town or the city in this case, improve the infrastructure so that those 100 units can be sufficiently served by the utilities as needed. And just a full clarification, from what I understand on the Kemp Park area, I believe the Kemp Park, the ball field is,
Yeah, won't be touched.
Oh, thank
is
goodness.
protected,
Good,
yes.
good,
So
good.
that
Good.
is part of the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that,
The
that would be
agreement.
one,
Yes.
that would be my one worry if we were
Right.
doing, like, I would love to sell so
Yeah.
many properties.
Yeah.
And also, we are a beautiful community, and we don't want to lose that,
Yeah.
that charm, that,
right.
who we are.
And there, granted, there are a lot of properties within the city. The city shouldn't really be in the real estate business if it
Absolutely.
can help it.
Absolutely.
Because, it's a burden on the city. The former Sullivan School, there was a fire in it about
Yeah,
2
I
or 3
remember.
years ago. And that's costing the city to having to constantly maintain a watch on it. If you listen to the local scanner, you'll hear officers calling Sullivan School checked. They check it maybe 3 times a day because there's been vandalism in there. There's people who've gotten in there, caused vandalism. The fire, that was an act of vandalism of some type. And this is costing our city extra money. And if it's in the hands of a private individual, not only are you getting the tax funds,
Tax base from it.
tax base from it. And another thing that a lot of people don't understand is that the part of the development, whatever it happens to be, some of it will be taxable.
Yeah,
As in the current MoCA complex.
Right.
There are sections
Right.
of
I mean,
it
that-
because they're
Yes.
renting them out as commercial,
Right.
there's
Right.
lawyers' offices and everything else
Yeah,
in
you're
there.
getting an annual
And
tax.
you are getting
from
some money
MoCA.
into that, and you will with the old Sullivan School
You're
property
getting
too,
an
yes.
annual tax from
Yes.
MoCA,
Oh,
like
yeah.
around $45,000-$50,000.
Yes.
I mean, so I know, I mean, MoCA is bringing in tax. I mean,
Oh,
people walk
absolutely.
saying, well, we've got Mass MoCA and they don't have to pay taxes, but the offices in there,
right.
they do. So Mass MoCA is really an asset to our city. We need, and then we're building an arts culture from that, and it's bringing people in. I mean, just look last weekend with Fresh Grass.
yeah.
I mean, the restaurants were full, and people were walking down the streets. Little shops were being patronized. I mean, we have to build on that, and we have to support these local small businesses that are opening up.
Absolutely.
And this is why I love the city. It's got so much potential. The people in the city have so much potential. We got to support these people.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Even my own children are looking to buy a house here. And not necessarily they're going to move back here, but they want to have a place here for when they come home.
Yeah.
And I mean, it fills my heart. I mean, this is where they grew up. They love it here.
well, thank you very much for this conversation. I hope you all got to say what you wanted to say.
Yes.
We did, thank
But
you.
I'm going to give you a quick minute to tell the audience why they should vote for you in November.
You're going to start with me?
We'll start with Bryan, since you went last the last time. You
Okay,
went last.
well, I'm looking for support primarily because of my experience, 5 years on the city council. I feel I have brought some good things to the council. We have a good council this year, and I hope to see a good council again next year. I've worked with many people, made sure that our committees and our council organization has been compliant with the law and addressing any open meeting law questions or things like that. And I'd like to continue for 2 more years and keep helping the city because I love the city, and I want to continue helping in whatever way I can and keeping it moving forward.
Okay. Marie?
As I've said numerous times, I love this city. I moved here 32 years ago, and I've been here ever since. And I believe that North Adams deserves leaders who listen, and we're going to lead with transparency. I'm going to work collaboratively with my fellow counselors, and I think I bring my experience as an educator and my dedication as a community member, and again, my love of the city to the council every day. So I just feel that I bring a lot of assets to the city council, and I feel I could be a good leader. So I hope I get your vote for city council.
All right, thank you. And Carrie?
So I am incredibly dedicated to public service. That is something that is incredibly important to me, and the city of North Adams is incredibly important to me. I will admit I do tend to be the quiet one in the group, but that's because I'm much more action-oriented than word-oriented. I'm not going to talk to you about what needs to get done. I'm probably doing something. I feel very strongly that we can create an amazing team. We do have 13 people running this year for 9 seats, so I think that that gives the voters an amazing opportunity to create the team that they would like to see sitting in those chairs, and I would really like to have one of those chairs to be able to represent the people of the city I love.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
Thank you
you.
for having
some
us.
Yeah,
conversation.
thank you.
I want to thank Northern Berkshire Community Television for providing us with a studio and partnering with us with this. There'll be 4 episodes altogether for the 13 total candidates for the 9 seats on the city council. And I encourage, not everybody, but North Adams citizens to get out on election day and vote. And that is November 4th. Thank you very much.